Welcome to King Sesso, a channel that advocates for one Africa, one land, one Africa, one language, one Africa, one currency, one Africa, one army. I wish to witness Africans all around the world united as one in our lifetime. Enjoy.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy King053, Mr. Easy Imalene, and we're back at it again with another one. And before I start speaking about the president of Guyana in the south of America, let me see if I can just pull up a map of where Guyana is, so you guys can get an idea. It's a country I've heard of in the past, but they've been so quiet, you know, in terms of making international news, that it's a country that we've easily forgotten. A country of our brothers, same skin color, our brothers that we love so much. So we have to speak about them. But before I do that, let me do a quick shout out to my subscribers. Guys, you know, I have to shout out to Guyana first. There is a brother from South America who's saying, I'm watching you guys from Guyana. So that makes my day already to know that before I even did a video about Guyana, I've got someone subscribing from there. And then we've got Beggersford. Beggersford is always in the house. Bahamas, guys, people from Bahamas are watching the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in Bahamas. Zambia is home. Zambia is home next door to us here in South Africa. Nelspruit is in the house. Blackheart has given us his approval, so we are free to do a video. Just quickly help me with that this flag. I don't know which country is this. It might have slipped my mind. And let's say we've got another viewer from Centurion. We've got a viewer from Venda. Thank you so much, guys. Bloemfontein, it's home for me. You guys know that Bloemfontein, I'm always in Bloemfontein. I'll be fighting there in the 27th of October. So tune in Makufe 2024. Listening from Eastgate. Eastgate is Johannesburg, right? Yes. Mpumalanga is always in the house. My home, my birth country. Let me say my birth country. Centurion always in the house. And who else is there? Yeah, that's about it. So shout out to Zimbabwe, always tuning in. Shout out to Malawi, and shout out to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Those ones we respect them because they are taking different stands in South Africa and not in South Africa, excuse me, in Africa at large. So what are we talking about today? We're talking about the president of Guyana, who was interviewed by these arrogant white people, and he gave one of the best answers I've heard in a long time in terms of black countries that was colonized by these white countries, and what contribution they have made to those white countries, for those white countries to be considered as developed and state-of-the-art countries, and our African countries, whether it's in America or whatever, as long as it's African people, continue to suffer because of the time lost in the history, all the struggles of slavery and colonization that is still following us till today. I mean, the ripples effect of that. So he spoke nicely. So let's grab the first question and hear what this arrogant white presenter was saying. Watch his body language, the way he's folding his arms, the way he's leaning, you know, speaking to a president with a disrespectful tone like this. This must be covered, guys. This must be covered.
Now, this is a really interesting story because he is backing the growing calls for descendants of slave traders from the UK to pay significant reparations to right historical wrongs. He's demanding that those involved in the transatlantic slave trade be posthumously charged for crimes against humanity.
This is a big topic at the moment. It's being discussed around the world. Guyana President Mohamed Irfan Ali joins us live now from New York, where he's going to be addressing world leaders at the UN General Assembly on this subject later today. So we've got in early with you. OK, let me ask you a question, Mr. President, on behalf of all of our viewers who would be covered by this. Why should somebody who maybe had an ancestor 7 or 8 generations ago, long before they were a twinkle in their great-great-great-great-grandparents' eye, why should they have to pay now for what an ancient ancestor did? Or why should they apologise for what an ancestor did centuries ago? Why do they still carry that burden?
Yeah, for me, you don't speak to a president like that. Whether you respect or don't respect that president, you address, you don't forget that you are just a mere presenter. And we as Africans must blow up this presenter on our social medias and say, how dare you speak to our African, and by Africa I mean by black president like that. How dare you speak to a black president like that? You don't speak like that. But unfortunately for him, in front of him or in the other side of the screen, there was a president who knew his story, very well mannered, very relaxed, rebuking him in a respectful tone. You know, I love seeing such scenes. Let's hear what the president answered in terms of the beneficiaries of these developed countries. Let's just quickly listen to the president.
Oh, it's not a burden at all. You are one of the beneficiaries of that slave trade. So this is not a burden. You should be concerned and you should pay, because you today are still benefiting from the greatest indignity to a human being, and that is the slave trade. And not only did you benefit during the slave trade and your country developed, but look at what it caused the developing world. During slavery, resources was used to build your country, build up your capacity. You were able to then become competitive. You were able to invest in mechanization, and developing countries like ours were left behind. So you should be very concerned, because you are a prime beneficiary of the exploits of slavery.
If you guys have been watching my channel, you know in this channel we study body language, we study the voice tone, and we study facial expression. Look at how arrogant this presenter is when he's asking, why should today's generation pay for the sins or the crimes of their great, because I wanted the president to answer him. Is to say, if you benefit from a crime, you must pay for that crime. What do I mean by that? And I've always made this example. And the president has also answered nicely, but this is how I made an example to my white friend. I said, if my, and this example will relate more to South Africans, because in South Africans, double cab bike is what we use most of the time. So, if my black father owned a double cab bike, let's switch it. Let's say a bus. My black father owned a bus. Your white father comes and steals the bus, kills my father, rapes my mother, and takes the bus. After raping them, uses the bus to generate income. So he runs a successful business with a bus. And then he passes away and hands over the bus to you, your father. Your father generates a better business than your grandfather, and then multiply the buses. Maybe they've got now 6, 7 buses. And then generations later, you are born into that family where business behavior, business patterns, business know-how was passed, business knowledge was passed through 3 generations, and now you are there, maybe the 4th generation, and you are born into a family that has got 20 buses. Unlike me, who my grandfather was murdered and his pass was taken away because he was maybe the first one to have a business mindset. That business knowledge was not passed through my generation. So as a result, I am suffering because nobody in my family, I was born into a poor family where my mother was raped, my father was murdered. Now we take 10 steps back to take one step forward. You understand what I'm saying? So that is why the developed countries must pay for what they did to us Africans because they continue benefiting, excuse me, they continue benefiting from what their great grandparents did. And it's such an insensitive way to speak, like why must you pay? You must pay because you still benefit till today. And I like how the president spoke there. And now the additional question would be, how much must be paid? Let's just quickly listen to the president because the president answered very carefully, and I'll come back for a review.
So put a figure on it, please, because it always comes down to the bottom line. How much should an individual taxpayer in a country like the UK be signing a cheque to a country like yours, Ghana?
Well, it's easy to calculate. We can use the time value of money. You can look at the period of slavery and the contribution not the contribution, the extraction of wealth from countries like ours and how it was utilized to build your society, build your country, create wealth in your country, and then add the time value of money, and you will get the value. There's a lot of research paper on this. A lot of universities would have done paper on this. There's enough literature to tell us what that value is. But I want to say that it is not only the value, it is the loss of time. It is a loss of competitiveness. It is a loss of human dignity. It is a loss of our education system. It is the culture that we lost. It is all of this indignity that surrounded slavery that we must consider.
I just wonder, people will be wondering what, you explained that there are calculations, but are you able to say in what measure that would be? I mean, are we talking billions, millions? What would you expect the payout to be and over what period of time?
Well, this year in Guyana, we commemorate the 200th anniversary of the Demerara Rebellion. And it took 200 years to get an apology from one of the families. I don't believe that you would want us to wait 200 years for reparative justice and for us to take this conversation forward. CARICOM would have set out a 10-point plan on what should constitute reparative justice and what should constitute reparation. And the calculation goes into billions for the region.
So if you guys have been watching my channel for a long time, you know I like playing this clip of King Shaka Zulu, one of the greatest military minded kings in South Africa, in Africa at large, in the world at large, where he was speaking to the colonizers and he said, you want to settle in my land. You know very well that you are not from this land. Your great children will not know the land that you come from. They will only know Africa as its land. So now, when it comes to the payment of slavery, it's not only about the monetary value. And the president, Mohammed, said it clearly, beautifully, that we must consider the loss of time, because you have lost so many years. In South Africa, we have 30 years of democracy. It's 30 years. In 2024, it will be 30 years. But we have lost over 300 years of apartheid system and wars in our country. So you can imagine how far we would have been. I mean, you can see in 30 years how far we have came, and you can imagine how far we would have been in 200 years, for example. We have lost the competitiveness. We are not competitive. People think that because we are lazy. No, because these people took our great-great-parents and built their economies with the muscle mind that we had. Sometimes they took even from the architecture of Africa and copied that. They took our religion, they took our spirituality, they took our clothes, they took our songs, they took everything they could took. They took our bodies, they took our women, they copied everything from us. And now their economy looks like it's more advanced than us, but which is not the case. Another important thing, the human dignity that was lost. I mean, the dignity of your great parent, because these things are passed through genes. Fear and the traits of fear, of doubting yourself, are passed through your genes. Some people don't know that. It's like sickness that is passed. You know, a doctor would ask you if you have cancer, if your great parents had ever had cancer. It's not only those things, it's the finer detail of character that is also passed. You will hear people say, wow, you talk like your father. Wow, it's things that are passed through generations. That dignity is gone. We have lost our culture. The museums of Germany, Italy, the Brits, they've got the artifacts of Africa in their museum. They are refusing to give those things back. They are refusing to give everything back. We want everything. We don't want two pieces or whatever. We still have bones of unclaimed slaves in Europe. You know, our heritage. We have lost our names in South Africa, specifically in Africa, specifically where the French have taken over, where the Portuguese has taken over, and the Brits have taken over. People have lost their names, their indigenous surnames. This is what slavery did to us, guys. And more than everything, we have lost our language. Now, as I'm speaking to hundreds and hundreds of Africans around the country, around the world, I'm speaking in English. But in this channel, that will change because I'm seeing Africa is starting to wake up. I love this thing of Africa starting to wake up. So, so he says, he asked, how far must we go back? I say, as far as it can be proven in court, meaning as long as you still have some type of evidence, because these fools were recording what they were doing to us in books and whatever. As long as you still have some type of recorded material, sometimes you'll even have some verbal oral weaknesses in court and everything. As long as it can still be proven in court, I believe that these countries should pay for what they did. Because we know that slavery is the biggest injustice in the world. Let's just quickly hear the question of how far back must we go back in terms of slavery, and I just touched on it briefly in terms of what must be proven in court.
How far back, though, do we have to go on this? Because you make the point, we're talking exclusively here about Western imperialistic slavery, to summarise it. But almost every civilization on the planet owes its existence and its prosperity almost always to crimes in the past, be they aggressive wars, be they different forms of slavery involving different movements of population. You can go right back to the Greeks and the Romans. Why just target one particular era in history? Some would say that's the arguments of political convenience. It's a handy handle to hang your argument on.
I think you're doing a great injustice to compare slavery with any other of the historical facts that you're mentioning.
I was including other forms of slavery. No, but I was including other examples of slavery as well.
To the indignity that slavery brought to people, that is the first thing. And I'll give you an example. Coming on to your program a few moments ago, you were speaking about net zero and climate justice. We are speaking about, the world is speaking today about climate justice and compensation and how we address the issues of climate change. And this is the problem. We live in a very unjust society. You know, we condemn completely the war in Ukraine. But if you look at the mobilization of resources in the war in Ukraine, in 2 years, you have mobilized more support for Ukraine than we have mobilized for Haiti for 60 years. You have mobilized more support for Ukraine than we have mobilized for Palestine for 20 years. You have mobilized more support for Ukraine in just 1.5 years than we mobilized to address the issue of hunger in Africa for 3 years. And that is the type of unjust way we have been dealing with these crises. And we are not going to tolerate the injustice that occurred during slavery to be compared with any other system. Slavery, we all agree, was the greatest injustice ever done to human beings. So we should not ever try to compare this to any other system.
No.
There is no other system that has created greater injustice than slavery and indignity to humankind in slavery.
Yes, so I think the king has not the king, the president. He speaks like a king, so we can call him King Mohammed, the president of Guyana, in the south of Africa, in the south of America. Thank you so much. They are Africans, guys. They are Africans that are staying in South America, so we value and love them as much. So the president has covered that. I don't need to elaborate further on that. The last question that they asked is about the royal family. And just listen to the arrogance of how this guy asked, must the royal family give the palace back to your country? Even sleeping at the table, the British royal family, they have even robbed us as South Africans. Some of the diamonds that are on the crown of the Queen of the British is from South Africa, from the city I'm currently staying in, Kimberley. They are from those diamonds must be given back to us. They were taken by slavery. They were not bought here. They were not bought here. Blood was spilled. People was displaced from their land. People were raped. Language and integrity was taken. Like I said, it's a whole chain of things that led to the British benefiting from Guyana and other African countries. Let's just quickly listen to how the king answered that question. What must they do? Must they give the palace back? Such an arrogance from this presenter speaking to a president, a full president like this.
Now, because we're over time here, I know you've got to go and we've got to move on as well. But very briefly, coming back to where we came in, one of the points you're going to be making today is about our royal family. And you feel that it's not just about the finances involved here in terms of reparations for slavery, it's about the gestures. And you think that the British royal family should make a big gesture, don't you? What do you mean? Hand over a palace to your country?
Well, no, we don't want the British to hand over a palace that we built. You know, if you go into many of the palaces in Britain, you will see the lovely green heartwood from Guyana. You will see the sweat, tears, and blood of the slaves who were exploited.
So what do you want?
And the revenue that was earned from their exploitation. So we're not asking for a palace. We're asking for justice and a fair form of justice to the ancestors and to the greatest injustice that has ever been done to human beings.
We look forward to
we're not asking for palaces. You can enjoy the palace, and when we visit you, we'll also enjoy it.
Mr. President, we really look forward to your speech later on today to the UN. I'm sure there'll be much coughing and shuffling of feet, because when it comes to getting people to put their hands in their back pockets, you've got a mountain to climb. But you make some very interesting arguments. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the preview. We appreciate it.
President.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are very thankful to President, must we call him Muhammad Ali? Because I think his surname is Ali and his name is Muhammad. We are very thankful to the President. And I think as Africans, we must learn something, that when one of us stands up, we need to back him up so that he does not look like Guyana is the only country asking for reparations or repayments of what has happened to their country. Other African countries must stand up and say, France, what you did to our country, we want our money back. We want our minerals back. It's easy to calculate this thing, guys. When it comes to the GDP of the country, money, military value chain, you can calculate how much a 10 rand or $10 was. What was the value of $10 in 30 years ago compared to today? How far can the dollar stretch and all of that? So you can calculate all of these things, guys. It's things that can be calculated. But if one country stands up and the other countries don't say anything, it is as useless as he's just blowing air. And that comes with us speaking about Pan-Africanism. I told you guys, start in your family, educate your family members, let them wake up. Do not try to convert them immediately, because black people, you are always going to fight Africans for Africans to benefit. Don't worry. You are going to find people that want to debate with you and all that. Focus on the people that are listening and speak to them about one Africa, one land, one Africa, one currency, one Africa, one language, one Africa, one president, one Africa, one love, And when I say Africa, we stretch through the borders of Africa. Like countries like Guyana is countries that are close to our heart. It's our people, these people. It's our people. But if you don't do the little that you can where you are, we'll never get anywhere. And when you see someone standing up, whether being in opening a business, opening a school, Dr. Uma, whoever it is that is doing something that is uplifting Africans, let us support that person. So I'm going to end with that. I'll see you guys, I think, Monday, because I'll be traveling again. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. If you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button, and I'll appreciate it if you give me the thumbs up if you like the video. And then leave your thoughts on the comment section. Tell me, what do you think about this well-articulated President King Mohammed Ali? Love him so much. And tell me, do you support his thoughts, or do you think it's just a lost cause that he's fighting, just blowing air, nothing is going to happen out of it? I'm telling you guys, Africa is waking up. Africa is waking up. Bit by bit, small by small, piece by piece. You saw in what do you call, in Niger, France has withdrawn their ambassador, and they are withdrawing their troops. They're saying by January, all their troops, 1,500, will be out of Niger. This thing is working. Why is it working? Because of the oneness of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. And in Burkina Faso, they've been trying to take out what is his name, Abraham Torah, whatever his surname is, the greatest president we have, the youngest president we have right now in Africa, Abraham from Burkina Faso. They've tried 2 times to attack him and take him out. He has survived. Let's keep on praying for these people, our African leaders. Let's keep them close to our heart, guys. Let's pray for them and spread the word as possible. Share this video on social media. Share it on your WhatsApp, wherever you can share it. Just share this video on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. Share it so that the people can know what is going on. Don't hide these important videos and information from our fellow African brothers and sisters. Until I see you next time from Mr. Easy Imali Enengeneng. Don't forget to pray, and I salute you.
Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, leave your thoughts on the comment section and hit the like and subscribe button, and we will meet on the next one.